You ever have one of those moments where you think, yeah, life's finally going my way, but and then the universe just pulls down its pants and takes a massive dump on you? Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. It all started with a letter. Just a plain white envelope sitting in my mailbox, no warning, no dramatic music, nothing. But inside, you owe $3,500 in unpaid HOA fees and fines. If payment is not received within 14 days, we will proceed with legal action. Sincerely, HOA President Bob Harris. I read it once, then twice, then a third time because surely this had to be some kind of joke. But nope, no prank, no hidden cameras, just a very real, very serious attempt to rob me blind. Now, before I get into how this all turned into a full-blown war, let me explain how I even ended up in this cursed neighborhood. My name is Marcus Davis. I'm 34 years old. I'm not rich, but I do well enough. I was born in Chicago, in a neighborhood where if you heard sirens at night, you just turned up the TV and minded your damn business, where corner stores had bulletproof glass, and where getting your bike stolen meant you were too dumb to lock it up properly. I worked my ass off to get out of that place, got myself a scholarship, went to college, and landed a solid job in finance. Spent years grinding, stacking money, waiting for the day I could afford peace and quiet. And finally, I got it. A nice little house in Westbridge, this picturesque little suburb where people jog at 6 a.m. and pretend to like each other, where the lawns are green, the fences are white, and everyone waves at you like they give a damn. At first, it was everything I wanted. No sirens, no drama, no crackheads asking for change outside the gas station, just fresh air, silence, and overpriced coffee shops. But then I found out about the HOA. HOA, the legalized mafia. For those of you lucky enough to never have dealt with one, an HOA, Homeowners Association, is basically a group of power-hungry Karens and retired control freaks who think they run the world. They enforce rules on everything: what color your house can be, how often you cut your grass, where you can park, even how long your Christmas decorations can stay up. It's a dictatorship disguised as community standards. And the worst part? They fine the hell out of you if you don't comply. But here's the catch. My house wasn't part of the HOA. When I bought it, I made sure of that. It was legally separate. No fees, no rules, no bullshit. So tell me why the hell I was getting a bill for $3,500. I wasn't about to let that slide. I grabbed my phone and dialed the number on the letter. A woman with the personality of a dead fish answered. Westbridge HOA. How may I assist you? Yeah, this is Marcus Davis. I just got a letter saying I owe HOA fees, but my house isn't even in the HOA. I think you guys made a mistake. Silence. Then, please hold. And then, just as I was about to hang up, I heard the voice. Smug as hell. Mr. Davis, this is Bob Harris, HOA president. Ah, there he was, the man himself. I could already picture him, gray-haired, golf-obsessed. Probably owns 5 pairs of boat shoes. Mr. Davis, he continued, I understand your concern, but our community recently voted to include your property in the HOA, so you're now required to follow our rules and pay the associated fees. I blinked. What? Your property is now under our jurisdiction, per community vote. Oh, hell, no. So let me get this straight, I said, gripping the phone tighter. You guys just decided on your own that my house now belongs to your little empire? Without asking me? Without my consent? Bob chuckled. The kind of chuckle that made me want to find this man and slap the smug right off his face. That's how community governance works, Mr. Davis. You'll get used to it. Used to it? Used to it. Nah, that wasn't happening. I hung up, and right then and there, I made a decision. If these HOA bastards wanted a fight, they were about to get one. I woke up thinking I'd have a normal day. Make some coffee, maybe read the news, enjoy the quiet morning before work. That fantasy lasted about 5 minutes, right up until I checked my mailbox and saw another goddamn letter from the HOA. Same white envelope, same fancy header. But this time it wasn't about money. You are in violation of Rule 7.3 regarding exterior home appearance. Your house does not meet the community's aesthetic standards. You have 30 days to repaint, or an additional $2,000 fine will be imposed. I just stood there on my porch, staring at the paper, trying to figure out what the hell they were talking about. My house is white. White. What exactly is aesthetic non-compliance about a white house? I read the letter 3 more times, just to be sure I wasn't having a stroke. Nope. Still there. Still insane. They were just making up rules at this point. This wasn't about fees. It wasn't even about control anymore. This was a goddamn war. They wanted to break me. They wanted me to give up, pay the fines, and fall in line like everybody else. They thought I was just another suburban homeowner who'd rather fork over a few $1,000 than deal with the hassle, but they had no idea who they were dealing with. I needed to figure out just how deep this HOA scam went. So I did what any sane person would do. I went to the old people. If you ever need dirt on a neighborhood, you don't go to the young families or the real estate agents. You go to the folks who've been here the longest. Which is why 10 minutes later I was knocking on the door of Michael and Lisa Bronson. They'd lived in Westbridge for 20 years, and if anyone had seen the HOA's bullshit firsthand, it was them. Lisa opened the door, saw the letter in my hand, and sighed. "Let me guess," she said. "They got you too?" I stepped inside, and Michael poured me a drink before I even sat down. "They're worse than the mafia," he muttered, sliding me a glass of whiskey. "At least with the mafia, you know the rules. These assholes just make them up as they go." I showed them the letter. Michael actually laughed. "Oh, that's a new one, huh?" he said. "Usually they start with unauthorized decorations or grass-length violations. But house color? Damn, they're getting creative." "They're trying to wear me down," I said. Lisa nodded. "That's their strategy. They don't expect people to fight back. Most folks just pay up because it's easier than dealing with legal battles." Then Michael leaned in and said something that made my blood run cold. "You know they faked votes before, right?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" "Couple years back they tried to ban RVs from driveways. They claimed 80% of the community voted for it. Turns out they just made up the numbers, but by the time people figured it out, it was too late." I clenched my jaw. Of course they did. These HOA pricks weren't just annoying, they were crooks, and now they were coming after me. Later that night, I was sitting on my porch, sipping whiskey, trying to figure out my next move, and that's when I noticed it. A car. A dark SUV parked just a little too far down the street to be casual. The engine was running, but the lights were off. I'm not paranoid, but I grew up in a place where you learn to notice when someone was watching you. I stood up, stretched, and casually walked down my driveway. The SUV sped off. "Oh, so that's how we're playing it?" I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. "Will, how illegal is it for an HOA to stalk someone?" "Marcus, what the hell is going on?" "They just sent me another fine, and now I got mystery SUVs parked outside my house." Will sighed. "Okay, that's a new one, but listen, we need to hit them where it hurts. Let's take this to court." "Damn right we will." I was done playing defense. The next morning, I woke up to something even worse than another letter. Someone had trashed my lawn. Garbage everywhere. A broken flower pot. And on my front door, a note. "Pay up or it gets worse." Oh, they really wanted to play, huh? That was it. That was the moment I decided I wasn't just going to fight back. I was going to burn their entire operation to the ground. I woke up to the sound of my neighbor screaming. At first, I thought maybe she saw a raccoon or something, but then I heard the words, "Oh my God, Marcus," and I knew whatever happened wasn't small. I grabbed my robe, stepped outside, and Jesus fucking Christ. My front yard looked like a goddamn crime scene. Garbage everywhere. Shredded newspapers, old food containers, broken bottles. They even threw a fucking toilet seat onto my lawn. And then I saw it. The note. It was taped to my front door, written in big, black, angry letters. "Pay up or it gets worse." Worse. I just stood there, breathing heavily, my blood boiling, while my neighbor, Karen, yes, an actual Karen, but a good one, freaked out beside me. "This is insane. Who the hell would do this?" she gasped. I didn't even answer. I already knew exactly who did it. The same HOA pricks who'd been trying to shake me down for money I didn't owe. The same ones who'd faked votes, stalked me, and now decided to step up their game with straight-up intimidation tactics. This wasn't about rules anymore. This was personal, and they had no idea what kind of man they just pissed off. I went inside, poured myself a drink, and called my lawyer. "Will, I need you to sue these motherfuckers into oblivion." There was a pause. Then, "Marcus, what happened?" "They vandalized my property, trashed my lawn, left a goddamn threat on my door." Will sighed. "All right, that's not just harassment, that's criminal intimidation. We can file a police report and hit them with a civil lawsuit at the same time." "Good, do it." I hung up, grabbed my keys, and drove straight to the police station. Now I wasn't naive. I knew the cops weren't going to bust down HOA President Bob Harris's door over some trash and a nasty note. But I wanted a paper trail. I walked in, filed a formal report for vandalism and harassment, and made damn sure to include every single detail. Then I drove home, parked my car, and sat on my porch, waiting because I knew something else was coming, and I didn't have to wait long. Later that evening, just as the sun was going down, I saw a familiar car pull up in front of my house. A sleek black sedan. Bob Harris stepped out, dressed in his usual khakis and polo shirt, looking every bit like a man who thought he owned the world. And right behind him, 2 other HOA board members. They walked up my driveway like they were about to handle me, like this was some mafia negotiation, and I was supposed to just nod, smile, and do whatever they said. Not happening. I leaned back in my chair, sipped my whiskey, and watched them like they were nothing more than entertainment. Bob smiled, fake as hell. "Marcus, we need to talk." I raised an eyebrow. "Do we? Because last time I checked, I don't owe you a damn thing." His smile twitched, but he kept his fake nice guy act going. "There's no need for hostility. We're just here to clear things up. You see, we noticed you filed a police report today. That's unfortunate." Oh, he really thought he was slick. I set my glass down, stood up, and took a step toward him. "Unfortunate? You mean for you?" One of the other board members, a short, bald guy who looked like he coached Little League but screamed at kids too much, spoke up. "Marcus, you have to understand, this community thrives on unity. We wouldn't want unnecessary conflict." "Oh, unnecessary conflict? Like, I don't know, making up fake fines, faking votes, stalking me, trashing my fucking yard?" They all shifted uncomfortably. Bob cleared his throat. "Marcus, these are just misunderstandings. If you drop your complaint, we can work something out." There it was. The real reason they were here. They knew they fucked up. They knew I had evidence, and now they were begging me to let it go. I took a deep breath, smiled, and said, "Go fuck yourselves." Bob's face turned red. The Little League screamer actually gasped. "Excuse me," Bob snapped. "You heard me," I said, stepping even closer. "You thought you could intimidate me, thought you could pull some little suburban mobster shit? You picked the wrong guy." Bob tried to act tough. Tried. "If you keep this up, Marcus, we'll have no choice but to take legal action." I actually laughed. Laughed right in his smug little face. "Oh, buddy, you have no idea what's coming." His eye twitched. "You'll regret this," he muttered. "No, Bob, you will." He turned on his heel and stormed back to his car, his minions scurrying after him. The second they drove off, I picked up my phone and called Will again. Double the lawsuit. The next day, my lawyer filed the lawsuit. Fraud, harassment, falsification of documents, defamation. The works. Then I took it a step further. I gathered every single neighbor who hated the HOA, and there were a lot of them. Michael and Lisa joined. Karen joined. The guy down the street who got fined $500 because his lawn chairs were too bright joined. By the time I was done, I had over 20 homeowners ready to fight back. We filed a class action lawsuit. And the best part? Bob Harris and his board members weren't just facing civil court. Because when the cops looked deeper into my vandalism complaint, they found something else. Forgery, fraud, tampering with legal documents. And that, my friends, that's a felony. By the end of the week, the police showed up at Bob Harris's house. By the end of the month, the entire HOA board had resigned in disgrace. And by the end of the year, the HOA was gone, dissolved, dead. As for me, I was still sitting on my porch, sipping whiskey, enjoying my White House, and laughing my ass off. The day Bob Harris got arrested was the best goddamn morning I'd had in months. I was sipping my coffee on the porch, enjoying the crisp air when I saw the flashing red and blue lights roll up to his house. 2 cop cars, an unmarked black SUV, and a bunch of officers marching straight up his driveway like they were about to drag his ass to hell. And let me tell you, watching that smug old bastard being handcuffed and shoved into the back of a police cruiser, pure fucking bliss. The whole neighborhood came out to watch. Karen stood next to me holding her coffee like it was the Super Bowl. "Oh my God, Marcus, you really did it," she whispered. "You actually took him down." I smirked, taking another sip. Damn right I did. But let's back up. Because while Bob's downfall was the icing on the cake, the real fun, that happened in court. I walked into that courtroom ready for war. Bob and his minions sat across from me looking like they'd just swallowed a mouthful of glass. Their expensive lawyer, probably paid for with all the bullshit HOA fees they extorted over the years, stood up, trying to put on his best, "This is all just a misunderstanding" face. "Your Honor, my clients are pillars of this community. They have only acted within the legal rights of the HOA. My lawyer, Will, cut him off so fast the poor bastard almost choked. "Let's talk about those legal rights," Will said, tossing a thick stack of fraudulent HOA documents onto the judge's bench. Because according to these, the HOA illegally extended its jurisdiction, falsified voting records, and engaged in intimidation tactics against non-members, including my client, Mr. Davis. Bob's lawyer turned red. Bob turned pale. I leaned back in my chair, grinning. Checkmate, motherfucker. The next 2 hours were a goddamn massacre. The HOA had no proof that my house was legally under their control. The vote that supposedly added my property, completely fabricated. The forged documents, confirmed by forensic analysts. The threats, the fines, the stalking, all documented. By the time Will was done, the judge looked like he wanted to personally drive a bulldozer through the HOA office. This is beyond negligence, the judge said, glaring at Bob. This is fraud, harassment, and targeted abuse. Not only is this court ruling in favor of Mr. Davis, but I am also recommending criminal charges be pursued against the board members involved in this scheme. Bob's lawyer literally put his head in his hands. As for Bob, the man looked like he was going to vomit all over the defense table. Good. I hoped he did. The final ruling? I owed the HOA exactly $0. They, however, owed me $250,000 in damages. And Bob Harris? Well, Bob was facing actual prison time. The second the ruling was announced, it was like the floodgates opened. The other residents of Westbridge, all the people who'd been quietly suffering under the HOA's tyranny, finally saw their chance. Lawsuits came raining down. More fraud was uncovered. More homeowners came forward with horror stories. Within 3 months, the HOA was completely bankrupt. Within 6 months, it was legally dissolved. And Bob? Bob lost everything. His cushy job at some financial firm? Gone. His fancy car and overpriced house? Sold to pay legal fees. His reputation? Shredded. And as for me, I was still in my White House, still sitting on my HOA-free porch, sipping my whiskey, and loving every goddamn second of it.